What up, people? Welcome to the Freedmen's Collective. We're going to have a good show today. We got to do the ground rules before we pop on over here to Clubhouse, y'all. You know how it goes. Because we have so many different people from different walks of life coming into the show and rocking out with us, especially from different areas of the internet. We got to make sure everyone understands that, not everything we say represents the opinions of this show. So just be careful. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the respective hosts and or the persons appearing on the program, such as guests, and they do not necessarily reflect the collective views and opinions of the Freedmen Collective. So just so y'all know. So let's get into this. What's going on? I'm Darvell. I'm going to be your host today. I'm going to be handling the most of what we got going on these days. So we're going to talk about something. Y'all seen the title of the show today. Y'all know what we got going on. Talk a little bit about this Will Smith situation, huh? Got to talk about this Will Smith situation a little bit, right? And what's really interesting about it is that it has ties to how we got to this place in the first place and how white gaze eggs on dysfunction in the black community. Now, there's a lot of people who believe that this is inherent to just the situation at Will, and maybe Jada are in, and Chris Rock's own personal endeavors in terms of being a comedian at the Oscars. But there's more to it than that. We're going to unpack that with the team today. We're going to have we're going to have Gerard. We're going to have Stedman. We're going to have Ernest on the line. And then we're going to talk about the importation of new white supremacy into America. So, sit back, relax, get ready. We are the Freedmen Collective. Gentlemen, we are on. What in the world is going on your side of the house?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, man. Well, just taking in all the sights and sounds of this week, man. Obviously, main topic is in the title.
We're going to be talking about this Will Smith SLAPGATE and black celebrity dysfunction. And then we're going to get into the white supremacy stuff. And I'm sure we're going to, slide around and talk about some other things that are important to the current situation in the Freedmen social economic justice climate. So, Gerard, you want to tell the people where you at?
Indeed, man. Hey, this is your homeboy, JBL, man, Gerard Ibn Lamont, coming out of the east side of Detroit, man. Just here to chop it up another day, another dollar, man, and in the reparationist movement and current Freedmen affairs and politics, the topic.
That's what's up. E. Russell, you got a second to drop something on the people?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Shout out to our audience. Shout out to the fans that most definitely keep coming through. I was gonna say, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys stay tuned and shit. If you're feeling like it, I mean, you could also join us in a clubhouse conversation. Definitely feel free to slack through on either app. But yeah, I feel like Gerard said, it's been a rocky weekend. It's a lot of headliners. I heard some stuff about Russia backing down, all type of crazy stuff.
Man,
But I know we're gonna get into it.
This is a week for like crazy stuff and people backing down and doing everything in the third. And somebody said sometimes these things are actually just distractions, so it's kind of scary to not know what's going on sometimes. So we're gonna have to talk about that. So let me read a piece here. Let's get on into this main topic, talk about Will Smith and SLAPGATE. I stole that from Iron Me. He put that on his posting. I like it. It was pretty good, so I stole it. But let's talk about this. So there's a gentleman who you guys probably are familiar with. I'm not that familiar with him because I ain't really into anything. I live under a rock. His name is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He wrote a piece on Substack on his little blog that I like. Or at least I like the summary at the beginning of it. His conclusion is not necessarily mine, but it gives us perspective to start this discussion from. So I'm going to read that, and then we're going to kind of roll with it from that standpoint. So he said in his particular opinion that Will Smith did a bad thing. He goes on to say that Will slapping Chris Rock was a blow to not only men, but also women and the entertainment industry and the Black community as a whole. He says that when Will Smith stormed onto the Oscar stage to strike Chris Rock for making a joke about his wife's short hair, he did not manage to understand what he was getting into. He did a lot more damage than just to Chris Rock's face. With a single petulant blow, he advocated violence, diminished women, insulted the entertainment industry, and perpetuated stereotypes about the Black community. And there's a lot to unpack there, but he wants to start with the facts. He says Rock made a reference to Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, as looking like Demi Moore in G.I. Jane, in which Moore had shaved her head. Jada Pinkett Smith suffers from alopecia, which causes hair loss. Okay, we can understand and we can see where the Smiths might not have found that joke funny. But Hollywood award shows are traditionally a venue where much worse things have been said about celebrities as a means of downplaying the fact that it's basically just a gathering of multimillionaires giving each other awards to boost business so they can make even more money. That's what the award show is about. The Smiths could have reacted by politely laughing along with the joke or by growling angrily at Rock. However, instead, Will felt the need to get up in front of his industry peers and millions of people around the world and hit another man. Then return to his seat, and in his seat, he would go on to bellow out, "Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth." And he would say it twice. He would go on to say, Jabbar, he goes on to say that, some people have romanticized Smith's actions as that of a loving husband defending his wife. Even comedian Tiffany Haddish would praise Will's actions. But, it was actually the opposite in Jabbar's opinion. And that's kind of where I'm going to stop. Jabbar just summarizes that, as I said before, as a slap in the face to women. And it wasn't a physical attack against Jada. But Will going up there was really trying to show that somehow she could not bear the weight of being in the seat that she was in. And the results of sitting in that seat are always that of being the butt of jokes, especially when a comedian's on the stage at the Oscars, right? We see this thing every year. So this is nothing new. But furthermore, she could not only handle the pressure, but he had to defend her against words. Guys, Gerard, you were saying something really interesting earlier. What would you say to that idea that, this was just simply a thing of words rather than a situation of any type of insult or threat?
I would agree. I mean, we have the classic, adage or phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, we all know words do hurt. But in a civilized country or civilization, we it has long have the the feeling or the precedent has been placed that you don't that does not give you the right to strike a person due to the fact that they said something that was offensive. The only time that you're able to strike someone is usually where it's accepted, even under the law, is under self-defense. And it was no physical threat, you know, levied in this particular situation. So I would agree with the author that yeah, it was definitely not okay for Will Smith to do what he did. And furthermore, what it does is that it sets a precedence that it's okay to attack speech in a country where we have put speeches in the Constitution, uh, free, the right to be able to say something that is offensive, and you have that right, and the government does not have the right to go after you or put you in jail. Now there may be consequences because of that, both physical and also legal, um, by way of protest, or you can get fired from your job, so on and so forth, this and this and that. You can't run and say fire, and one of us that you can't use free speech to say to cause a harm in a public setting, right? That has been long established in constitutional law. But yeah, but besides all of that, more importantly, it was out of bounds. But what we're seeing here, where and some of the responses that I saw from people are saying, people need to be more sensitive to to her position of her, her physical ailment, and as if that justifies, Will being able to, levy a physical attack um, against Chris Rock because of such. Also, again, you don't want to be in, as there's a always been kind of like an understanding and agreement that comedians, they are able to push the envelope because you know they use speech to help push certain political and cultural and social values, where normally in every other setting that may be not possible, but they're able to move the needle in any particular direction in either way, and they have that freedom to do so. So when Will Smith did that, and of course, generally speaking, it's kind of accepted that there's really not going to be any real repercussions because of it. They're talking about the Oscars may remove may take
Yeah.
away his award and so on and so forth. But in all actuality, I don't think there's going to be any legal repercussions because of it. May he lose some endorsement deals or some things like that? We don't know. But all in all, he's definitely not going to be treated like how if me and you had, done that in defense of our girlfriends or wives at a comedian show, in a similar setting. But does this open a precedent to allow people to do such things? I think so. It's just a bad precedent, especially, we have so many people, supporting what he did. And even Tiffany Haddish, of all people, a comedian, what if she says something that a show that offends someone? Does that give them the right now to come up on stage at her workplace and assault her for essentially doing her job? That's what happened to Chris Rock.
That is true. I heard actually that there's also a concern that because he set this kind of precedent that it's not necessarily almost it's not okay, but because he set a live globally aired precedent that jokes can cross the line from a comedian on stage, and it is appropriate to go up there and actually physically assault them as a result. This could lead to more danger to comedians in stand up houses across the country. I don't know how real that is, in terms of the potential that people will come up and start smacking around the local comedian for something that they said. But I think there is risk inherent in there, when that goes unrebuked. And so that's why I think the rebuke has been so very visceral in public, but it's also stirred up a lot of conversation about what this really is in terms of why Will did it, or was it appropriate for him to have to defend his wife, or what's happened in the past in the context. And I'm really a person who believes context matters. I think context is extremely important. I think not mitigating, but aggravating factors and root causes are different than responsibility and ownership. You can say someone chose to make an action, but you're not going to defeat the potential for repeat situations or recurrence of an action if you're not willing to look into the root causes and aggravating factors of that situation. So there's a lot to be unpacked there that people are really unable to do from armchair quarterbacking over the internet. So as a particular person myself who's dealt with a lot of different situations in my life, also understanding that violence is not what we ideally want as a solution to anything, but sometimes it is the direction people go in order to resolve situations. I mean, clearly war is violence. We see that in Ukraine. We're not saying Russia's invasion and assault on Ukraine is okay, but America assaults all sorts of people and countries in order to do what America thinks is in its best interest. And that's even how we have America today. And we know all about that, for better and worse. But I think it's important to not only consider that context, but understand that when you are sitting on the outside looking in and judging and making all these thoughts and these things, I think that it's all become, they're using him as fodder to really engage in their own masturbation, intellectual masturbation on the internet and on the TV. It's basically the decadent veil, as Antonio Morris called it. The dysfunction of Black celebrity is being turned into this show for white people, right? Because that's who the most of the eyes that are on this. That's what most of the eyes that are on this situation really are. They're not Black people as much. Now, Black people have a particular special, I would say, reaction and role in it, because we really do feel like this somehow ties back into Black women not being protected or not being treated fairly. I think, Gerard, you had mentioned something about that before, that there's been a lot of dissonance in the community between Black men supporting Black women, the reality of that and actually how they feel. I think that's true, but we've got to a point where nobody has really been able to offer pushback on that, until this situation, I think, in a physical, real celebrity sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, let me
someone that go ahead,
yeah,
Ernest.
I was gonna jump in and say, I mean, Stedman earlier, he said, it appears staged. I could almost think that it was, but at the same time, I know that it wasn't. I know that, Will Smith basically did something he knew he would get away with. I know it's a lot of folks who talked about this topic, and they didn't said things like, would he have done it if it was a white man making that same joke? Or what if Will Smith was white and he did that shit, you know what I'm saying, in defense of his wife, slapped a Black comedian, you know what I'm saying, and got away with it. And everybody making these narratives, like, would it be right? And I know a lot of people, like even myself, I don't necessarily agree with it. Um, I feel like them being in the space that they in, they know what's up, especially Will Smith. Like he done heard Chris Rock make all type of jokes before, like real offensive jokes. And so if he was cool with him making those jokes, then he knew one day, he could be on the chopping block. That's just the reality. But apparently, I guess, he felt like he was testing his gangster. You say he said that them being in the role that they're in, they don't get looked at as human beings and they don't have the right to be emotional. And it was a really emotional and good speech, but I feel like that could be said for Black people at large, like when it comes to expressing ourselves, but not in the moment that you did what you did, because you are a Richie Lee. You are someone who has received therapy, have been through X, Y, and Z. You got whatever type of relationship with your wife where you ain't slapped guys that she openly dating, but you want to slap a guy that made a joke about her having this haircut looking like G.I. Jane. I mean, and this is a close friend of his, I guess, apparently to what they've been saying. And he said he felt like he was wrong. So, I guess when he did it, he knew that he was wrong. But that's another thing.
And to go back to the whole topic of black women not feeling protected or what have you. um if you look at it and you analyze the clip, Will Smith himself initially laughed at the joke.
Yeah, he
It
did. I
was
seen it.
only, yeah, it was only until it was apparent that Jada didn't find it funny. That's when he went into, I guess, beast mode, or you know what I'm saying, some sort of protector mode or whatever it was, where he felt like he had to protect her honor in that particular moment and do what he did to Chris Rock. Um, uh, to me, it sets a real bad precedent, because we already know that there's a lot of violence that happens in our community, and a lot of times it is around you know relationship type of things, whether it be between two partners or outside of partners, right? Or what have you. And for me, you know, people, we all know that people look at stuff that happens, with celebrities. He even admitted to the fact in his acceptance speech that, hey, life imitates art. You know what I'm saying? He was a quote unquote, he stated, like, I'm just like the Williams father, right? I'm a crazy father, a crazy dad or whatever. I need to protect my family. Come to find out, a statement that, I won't say come to find out, but a statement that was issued by the Williams father was that he didn't condone that. He said, no, that, he didn't. He was like, that what he did was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't, in essence, don't, say you did something in my name or something similar in my name in the defense of your wife
Mhm.
or your family. And doing so, it wasn't appropriate. Like I said, it sets a real bad precedent, and it condones, because again, as I've seen, in my even my own personal conversations with people over the internet that I know, who supported what Will did, and felt like he was okay in doing so, because you know you know Chris Rock deserved it, because he said something about this man's wife. You know what I mean? And people take cues off of celebrities, and off of and off of fictional situations. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's so dangerous. And then to do it in front of the white gaze on top of that, to where yesterday I'm hearing, you know I'm listening to a sports radio station here locally, and the two reporters or analysts or broadcasters are breaking this down, and giving their psychoanalysis of Will and his past issues with his father, and abuse that allegedly his father did in front of his mother, and therefore Will felt like it was, this is all these, these white people are saying all. It's like, come on, man. Like this, where did they get off? Even, it was really just terrible taste, in my opinion, to even be, having such a conversation on a sports channel of all places, right? They're not qualified to do such or have an opinion about that. But when you do this in a public sphere, you open yourself up to these type of things happening, or what have you, and it's just sad, man. It's just sad
So
at the end of the day.
here's one thing I'll mention. When it comes to when it comes to Will's state of mind, two things I said earlier today. One is he knew what he was getting into by doing that. I forgot I was texting someone. I was like, listen, that was, yeah, it was crazy and all this and the third, but it was a very calculated move. It wasn't something like no person who's been in this industry that long and is on the Oscars and they're got an award coming that they actually haven't even received yet at this point, right? He got it later. So for all he knew, they could revoke that right there and they never even would go to call his name for all we knew. But I think that he made a very calculated choice that whatever he felt he needed to do for himself, whatever it was internally that was driving him, whether it be a cognitive distortion of what Chris Rock said, whether it be an overprotection of his wife, maybe it be a repressed, unresolved issue with the abuse he's seen his mother go through, whatever it was that's really part of the context, the background, the anchoring, the root cause of his actions, that outweighed the respect of Chris Rock's personal person, as well as everything else, the industry, the people who would see it. He needed that more than he needed any of the other stuff at that moment. I think that he made that calculation very quickly. It's something that people can do very quickly. And it's not based on some trivial situation of just a joke coming out that man's mouth. It's based on much more than that, right? Because that joke in and of itself is just a keyway to more pain that clearly brought him to a point where he got up out of his chair. And so my bigger hope is that, of course, I think the situation is so drastic that it's going to drive him to go and seek maybe additional help or maybe some additional support systems in place to help him. And maybe it's that he shouldn't be with Jada. Maybe it's that he needs to go deal with the situation with his mother and it's, what he's seen, whatever it is. But I honestly, things happen, shit happens. I don't want people to be hurt. But at the same time, two things are happening here. One, he's acting out something that's internal within him and he's struggling with. And two, America is blowing it like to the moon. And that's because it's an opportunity for everyone to do what they did. I think that it can be handled in a way where we say, this is abnormal. This is not okay. Will's going through something. We don't know what it is, but shit happens. And this is what happened in this situation. We don't condone it. And, ramifications will be taken accordingly. But what's happening is a ton of people are running around getting their rocks off to talk about this. And they're going in fucking circles about nothing. They're just trying to get their money, trying to get the bag. People will use like you said, that white gaze. White gaze takes our issues that they created, because the whole thing that makes this even crazier is that there's all this underlying instability within the Black community that this kind of ignites, right? It ignites Black celebrity and the decadent bill. It ignites male-female division. It ignites, Kevin Samuels even went on and done a thing about it, right? It ignites a bunch of stuff. And just like, I would think that at the end of the day, we can take this situation. I would hope we're not in that America yet, but at the end of the day, we should be able to take this situation and put it in the context of shit that happens. People do stuff, but clearly it has nothing to do with greater America until you unpack why Will himself did it. You can't tell me anything about why it happened unless you talk to him. They can get, like they said, all this stuff. Yeah, but did you talk to him? If you're not his personal therapist, I don't want to hear it. I mean, in terms of the folks you were talking about, you're talking about some folks, Gerard, who had talked about it. Some therapist or something? Or was
Yeah,
that
correct.
Ernest?
Yeah. These are sports jocks, radio hosts. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that was just one example, but like you said, it's been everyone in between, from YouTube to you name it. This is the main subject right now in America, man. This is the main subject in
Yeah.
America, if not the world, but definitely America. This is
It was Go ahead, Sid.
And I got a little time, so two things. It's interesting because I don't know how much y'all ever watched King of the Hill, but that's it's not like one of my favorite shows. Me and my wife used to watch it a lot. And so Dale's wife, the guy with the glasses, the conspiracy guy who got the son named Joseph, she cheated on him with the guy named John Redcorn, who's an Indian. And so the son that, he thinks is his is actually an Indian. His name is Joseph. So, what ends up happening, she's cheating on him this whole time, right? This is long, like 13 or 14-year affair. And then eventually John Redcorn breaks it off. He's like, I don't want to do this no more. Me and Dale are good friends. Like him and Dale become friends. And so after they stop, her hair starts falling off. She has to wear a wig. And she talked to her mom about it. Her mom's like, yeah, that's something in our family. Like, when we stop having affairs, the women in our family, they lose their hair. And so it's interesting to me, given the context of, who she is and what they've done and how, we know about her entanglements, as she like to call it, that now she got alopecia or whatever. Now, I know what alopecia is and I know what it looked like. And I mean, obviously I don't know, how bad it was, but it doesn't appear to be like patchy or, you know what I'm saying? Like she's totally bald, eyebrows and all. So I don't know, I'm not trying to make no speculation of her medical condition. But also another thing, Darvell, you said, I can't remember, kind of Gerard, but just looking at how we have accepted this as some kind of acceptable behavior for him to do this for his wife in this situation against another black man in this environment when the whole world is watching. Like, I think the good title for this episode could also have been a slap heard around the world because, this is a representation of all of us, right? You could have called this man on the phone because how many fat jokes did he make about Uncle Phil? Even though, you could say, well, I was just playing a character. You still said this stuff, and John Avery was still fat. You see what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't a joke. John Avery was still fat. Now, you could say Carlton's character because, Alfonso Ribeiro don't really act like that in real life. I think he's more taking on that role after he's gotten older because that's what people know him like. But, you are making fun of Alfonso Ribeiro because he don't really act like Carlton in real life. But it's acceptable for you to make jokes, and all these different people make jokes. And I mean, I've heard some crazy stuff. I've heard a lot of people say crazy stuff. What's her name? Rebel Wilson, the British lady or Australian lady that lost all that weight. She just did the BAFTA Awards, and she was saying some stuff. She was off the chain. She was talking about Prince Andrew and the whole million stuff, but like she hinted at it. And so, what do we say now? Y'all know how I feel about the free speech situation. What do we say now? It's acceptable for people to take physical actions against comedians for saying things that they don't like. If you go to a comedy club, D.L. Hughley, this is his whole last, 20 minutes of his set. You go to a D.L. Hughley show, he was gonna cut you up the last 20 minutes. But now it's cool. If I go to a D.L. Hughley show, I can just walk up on stage and punch him in the mouth because, hey man, you hurt my feelings. Don't talk about my wife.
It ain't gonna work like that. Like in
right?
a lot of low level comedians, like they say a lot of offensive shit in general. So you got to think there's a reason why they ain't touched in certain neighborhoods that they in. It ain't because they advertently dangerous. It's just that they know how to move in spaces and they're not gonna let somebody just get up on stage and violate them like that. They know what their purpose is, to make jokes. If you can't take those jokes, then you want some other shit. That's like common code.
All right, so we got a caller. I'm gonna pull that caller in here. Can you hear us, caller? We can't hear you. Hey, what's going on there? What's going on? Oh yeah, Uh-huh.
We can't hear the caller on the clubhouse, man.
Oh, you can't hear him at all. Hold on 1 second. My bad, bro. Apparently, not picking you up over here across the street. I got you.
Just let me know.
Oh, no, here we go. Go on ahead.
Okay, look, this is my take on the situation, right? Obviously, a lot of things I thought about Will Smith were confirmed. One is he's extremely insecure, right? Obviously, that was I mean, if you look at his body language, right, and I'm talking about after the slap when he sat back down and he said, "Keep my wife's effing name out of your mouth." It looked so uncomfortable to him, like that wasn't him. You could see it in his face, right, that he was trying to like exude some kind of something that wasn't really like in his DNA, right? It's like I said, it's like when the nerd has had enough, right? It was like that kind of situation. Like it's not really in you to be a defender of your wife, like they kept trying to, there's so many women. So he was defending his wife. I'm like, from what? Was she attacked? I didn't see that part. I heard a joke from a comedian that does that for a living. So I mean, I didn't see nobody that got attacked. And like Stedman was saying earlier, I mean, what happened when all them comics had jokes about Magic Johnson and HIV? I mean, because I remember a million of them. They had Magic Johnson jokes, and that's a deadly disease. We're not talking about something that's like not going to affect you as far as your expiration date goes, right? I mean, that's what that was. And we had a million comedians that had a million jokes about it, and people was okay with it because, of course, we're talking about a woman as opposed to a man. So, you can't insult women at all about anything, even if it's obvious and super funny. And that wasn't even a funny joke, but I'm just saying, like, come on, Will, bro.
So that
You did all of that.
That part where you said
Yeah.
you can't insult women about anything, does that apply to white women?
I think it applied to them first.
So do they would we have the same? Not that will, but if we take two analogous white folks wouldn't even do that to each other. Period. I guess, right?
I don't know. They probably would. I mean, listen, white people they do things like jackass. So I mean, I'm not gonna say what they won't do to each other in a public manner, but would the reaction would have been the same? I guess that would be my question, right? Because like I said, I don't know if they would be as I'm not saying they're not sensitive about it, but I mean I feel like white people, like I said, they do anything to each other and they seem like they're okay with it, and it's not gonna be taken as see, like I feel like black men, we definitely have that. We need to be respected thing in our DNA because we're so disrespected in a society. That's why somebody can be, have a little piece of a block or a situation and be like, I'm guarding this for my life. And it's like, bro, you don't even own that street. You just selling drugs on it. But I'm saying, like, it's so much disrespect that goes on with black men that any little piece of respect that we have, we try to defend it with our lives. And so I feel like, yeah, are we a little bit more defensive to self-respect or disrespect? Remember, how many times you heard brothers say that, man? Hey, man, he was disrespectful. Man, it was disrespect. It's about the respect. It's about the respect because you get so little of it that you have to stand on a lot of things, right? But like I said, that's not even in Will Smith's DNA to be of that nature. If it was, Chris Rock would have never told the joke about your wife in the first place.
If he knew that he was about that life, which means that Chris
exactly,
didn't pick
you
that
got to
up.
look in the mirror. Will Smith got to look in the mirror and say, "What am I exuding out to other people that thinks that they can talk to me like this?"
If that's what you, if you don't want that type of life for you and your wife, then what are you putting out there that gives you? And you know what I will say though is I won't even say that it's got to be that he's putting something out there that gives them that is what he's not putting out. But at the end of the day, I think that, and I think about even from my own personal lens, it's not that I owe the world something that I have to display in order to have you fear making jokes of me. It's that no, I've not showed you what I expect of you from me personally, right? So Chris Rock will probably insult anybody's bald head wife sitting in the front row, but he's not learned about Will in particular having a sensitivity on this particular thing. But we're questioning if it's even really this particular thing versus something that's been building up that's different, that's just being exuded through this particular incident.
I disagree with the notion that Chris Rock would have done that to anyone. I disagree with that. I feel like if that was Charlie Murphy and his wife sitting there, and Charlie Murphy's wife suffered from cancer prior to her death, and he died from cancer also, along almost a similar type of cancer. But if Charlie Murphy was sitting there in that front row and his wife had the same ailment, do you think Chris Rock would have said something about his wife?
So why not?
Because Charlie Murphy might have smacked him in a much worse way. I don't feel like people play with Charlie Murphy like that.
Well,
And
Charlie
that kind
Murphy,
of type matter.
You're talking about someone who is known for retaliation, or someone who Chris just didn't know?
Well, if he would have to know him to joke about his wife, though, right? Like, I don't feel like anybody would be comfortable joking about somebody's wife that they didn't know existed.
Well, I mean, we're just talking about the stand-up. We were talking about the activity of stand-up comedians and, you know, around the country. Like, they don't know the guests who are sitting in their front row, but they take them in and
well, listen, I've actually done stand-up before, right? I'm gonna tell you something. You can look at a person's demeanor and you move on.
Oh, in terms of their reaction to the joke.
Yes, not even a reaction. You can look at a certain person and the way their demeanor is. I'm not gonna joke about him and this girl over there. I'm moving on to the next person. Like, yeah, that's a thing. So you try to avoid conflict as much as possible too. You're not gonna look at. I'm telling you, certain people carry themselves in a manner. I don't know if you understand this or not, but this is a real thing. People can carry themselves in a certain manner to where people see that and they don't have to say anything about it. They just move on to the next person.
Well, of course, I hear you with that, but I've actually seen the opposite. Like, they'll take someone who looks like they ain't playing no games and actually make fun of that in and of itself at the actual club. Like, it's like, I mean, I'm just saying from my experience, I'm not saying that that's the rule, but I mean, you as a comedian, you have a particular, you know, way you do things. I've seen, I mean, I would say I give off that vibe when I'm sitting in that area, because I'm just like, I'm not here for it. I'm just here to have a good time, not to become the good time.
It's not about the vibe you're giving off as much as people can smell it, man. They can see it. That's all I'm saying. You can tell not who to mess with. A lot of times if you're smart. That's all I'm saying. I mean, plus we talking about the Oscars. Those jokes were approved and written. That's a totally different type of situation to try to compare that to. It's just a freestyle comedy. You at a club and we doing jokes. You know what I'm saying? This is, everybody knows people that are sitting in the front row, right? This is the Oscars. Like, everybody's a celebrity here. So what I'm saying is that if we're in that same situation where we're in a celebrity-driven audience, this is scripted, this is live television, national audience, let's give it a proper comparison so we can get a proper diagnosis on what we're talking about. That's not going to be where I'm going to make fun of everybody or anybody sitting there. I don't feel like that's the situation. I feel like you're going to use discretion.
If you're out in the streets compared to the Oscars.
Yes, yes, it's a difference. There's a difference in the amount of discretion that you're going to use. Discretion is going to be implemented upon you when you're doing the Oscars.
Well, he didn't even have. I heard this wasn't scripted.
Yeah, I think it depend on it might depend on the comedian, though. You know what I'm saying? Like the person. So like I felt like if this was 50 Cent making that same joke, Will Smith ain't gonna get up there and do that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, Ernest.
That's my statement.
Right. If it was Mike Epps, it was Corey Holcomb. Yeah. If it was, you know what I'm saying, any of them type of, he wouldn't have made. Yeah, and that's another thing I talked about in my response to people in my own personal circles. I said Will knew who to do that shit to. On top of that, he knew that you know what I'm saying. He knew who to do that. That's why he was so comfortable. And because a lot of people was like, oh, it was scripted based on the fact that what man smacks another man and walks away, you know, and turns his back to him. Well, he knew that Chris wasn't gonna physically come at him like that. You know what I'm saying? That was all calculated in split seconds. In seconds, that shit. You know, he knew he had the physical advantage and everything, you know, before he got up.
He walked up.
That same element was present when Chris told the joke too. That's what I'm trying to say. If that same element was present when Chris told the joke too, because he knew and thought he knew. Oh, I could say it to him. I could crack that joke on him. Yeah. Just like Will said, "Oh, you know what? Okay, let me show you. I could smack you, but I probably wouldn't do that if it was D-Rock." Not Chris Rock, but D-Rock hosting. Nigga, you wouldn't have did that then. Hey, you feel me?
Like, you ain't gonna do that to them. Like, I know I ain't. I'm doing it to you.
Yeah.
And the bad part about all of this shit was like this was done, like, you know, this pathos, this pathology that we're talking about, you know, as black people, because we obviously we are black people, we're freedmen. We understand the nuances of all of this, and all of that was all carried out in front of the white gaze, which to me is the most egregious of all of it. You know what I'm saying? That this was done in such a wide public setting. You know what I'm saying? For other people now to dissect it and chop it up and so on and so forth. It just makes us look more animalistic. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that,
you know,
but I really don't want to agree with it, right? I want it to not be a thing. I want us to not have to worry or feel like giving a fuck about what white people think, right? Like, I really want us to feel like that. But like you said, it's so true what you said, either way it goes, right? Because it's like, it gives them those key points that they can point to and say, see, and you don't want that out there. As much as, like I said, I feel like we shouldn't operate under the mode of, we shouldn't do this because white people are watching. Like, it's still a thing though, right? Like, it's still important, you know what I mean? Like you said, because it gives them those weapons to be able to say, see how y'all act? Like, it's such a double-edged sword to me.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct, man. 100%.
Well, I don't know.
Which makes it just all sad at the end of the day. You know?
Right.
I mean, like, just me personally, man. Like, and I'll just state it. I know my hosts, I don't know if they agree with this or not, but I'm just gonna state it, bro. I'm always male first, black male first, man. I'm always black male first when it comes to it. And what Will Smith confirmed to me, because a lot of people were saying, well, is it simpish or is not? Because that was another conversation that was happening on the internet. Was he a simp for defending his wife? Well, does that make it simp or not? You know what I mean? Because it wasn't a random chick, it was his wife or whatever. And for me, the simpish part, for me personally, you know, because like I said, he was super Sabian simp, in my opinion, was the fact that he laughed at the fucking joke. He laughed at the joke. It was funny to him, but it was only until Jada responds. You know what I'm saying? And it was all, you know what I'm saying? It was all freaking like, it was like, you know, like a telepathic response, right? It was, as soon as she wasn't happy or pleased about it, that's when he kicked it to gangster mode at that point. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, you know, like.
Happening, right? We know why the entanglement's happening, right?
Yeah.
We know who's running that relationship, right? Like, you a push button, right? Like, oh, you operate off what she say? Like, you ain't no leader in your own household. How you gonna try to dictate to me? That's crazy. Like, I just look at men that think like that. Like, that's how you operate.
And I've heard so many responses. Go ahead. I heard so many responses from, like, you know, people. No, it's all good. I heard so many responses, you know, from, you know, just, you know, layman people talking about it on the radio, on the internet. He's like, well, man, you know, he had to go home. Of course he had, you know, if you ever been with any woman that, you know, he would have heard that for days. And I'm like, who gives a damn if she had to hear that from days? Like, if you sitting up there, you know what I'm saying? Like, freaking responding off of what she say, but that goes to show you what type, like you said, what type of relationship that they have. Because if it was me, you know what I mean? I would have laughed at it. She would have been mad about it. And she would have been like, why'd you laugh? I'd be like, because the shit was funny. What the fuck you expect? You know, what do you expect me to do? Go up there and kick his ass? Yeah, well then, bitch, you stupid as fuck on national TV. You get out of here, man. I would have gave a fuck if she was mad or not. You know what I'm saying? Because it was stupid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna get up there and you know, but see, here's the thing though. This is why I say it set a bad precedent and only, I mean, it's already, actually the precedent's already out there. That's why a bunch of dudes in our community get killed, you know, or get into situations year in, year out over a female, right? You know what I'm saying? And now you got these women and you got these people applauding and saying, yeah, look at that black man defending what? What words? You know, I understand if he had accosted her, then yeah, that would have been a reason to defend her, but that wasn't the case. There was no physical threat. So no, you know what I'm saying? I've actually got into arguments with other black men, you know what I'm saying, in relation to that, like saying, you know, supporting him doing so. And I'm like, no, bro, that's No, we shouldn't be doing that, dude, at all. We should never co-sign. We should never teach our sons or teach young black men that it's okay, you know, because somebody offended you, whether you personally or somebody in your personal circle. Because I've heard people, oh yeah, if he gave a mama a joke like that about you, if she was going through cancer, you would have did the same thing. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have. Yeah, because I learned in grade school not to respond that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Just to be clear,
go ahead.
Just to be clear, you're saying that the violence or the act in front of other people or any type of reaction at all, like, you know, there are people who are saying, well, what he probably should have done is, you know, maybe understood where she was coming from. And if there was really an issue, like we say, you know, the reaction was very immediate, right? It was very in that moment, right? Maybe she wasn't even giving it thought, and he just took from her energy at that moment, which probably could have subsided within a minute, right? Because it happened so quick. Right. She probably would have gotten over it, but
seconds.
Yeah. So, like, let's say that it was a discussion they had after the show or later on, and then he felt that it was bothering her to a degree that he was concerned that Chris might cause more. Do you think it would have been inappropriate to the architecture you're painting in terms of his reaction? Do you think it would have been inappropriate for him to have a word with Chris later, maybe a couple of days later, or even something else?
No, I know a word. No. Go ahead, caller.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's probably what he should have done instead.
Yeah. I mean, a word. No. A word, no, a word would have been, he could have been like, man, come on, bro. You know this shit gonna be, come on, man. Why would you say that type of joke, dog? You know she gonna be on my ass, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Or he could have been like, yo, man, dude, that was wrong. My woman going through this and this and that. Because according to what I saw reports, that Chris Rock was like, I didn't know she ever had alopecia. I didn't know nothing about any of that. You know what I'm saying? Either or. The point that what Will did was just inappropriate, no matter which way you slice.
Pause that. Now, you know that's the thing, though. I think everybody understands that whoever's co-signing the violent act in front of the public right there, that's off the table. That's not acceptable. We're done with that. I'm talking about him even having the wherewithal to react to it at any point in terms of saying anything to Chris later.
No. I'm saying that's fine.
Okay.
That's okay. You can have that type of conversation. I'm not saying that he would be a punk for, having that conversation. No. whether he could have came at it from a perspective like, come on, man, why you put me in that position like that for, so I could be in the doghouse. Or he could be legitimately mad at the fact that he told the joke. Either or. Those are two ways he could have responded in private. You know what I'm saying? Either or, it should have been done in private.
Let me say this, Darvell. What makes it simplest to me, right? Let me say this one thing, right? What makes it simplest is not him responding, but in the manner in which he responded in. What I mean by that is you put yourself, your freedom, your future, all on the line, and publicly assaulting somebody over what? Like, that's what makes you a simp. When I feel like I see guys put their freedom, their financial well-being, all of that on the line for a female in a situation that was so unnecessary to go that route, you're not thinking about the bigger picture, which is your family. See, you not going up there, right? It's actually protecting her even more. Let's say I go up there and I slap somebody and I never work again, and we end up losing everything we made because you wanted me to say something to a guy because he made a joke. That's simp behavior. You're not thinking correctly, brother.
Right. Yeah, no. And that definitely makes perfect sense. I was just trying to clarify where Gerard was coming from. So I'm good with that.
And then I add this, Darvell. Now let's put it in context to the actual individual, right? Now, look at, she had no problem in making Will look crazy and at his expense for her gang through her red table talk when she exposed the fact that she was, with August Alsina. You know what I'm saying? Like, then on top of that, like, who are you defending? She's not even worthy of defending, in my opinion. And then let's even go further. She could, maybe Will was in, he was out of it, right? Any good woman would have been like, Will, stop. and would have grabbed him and would have prevented him
yeah,
from
that's
doing
true.
that.
That's true.
And she just let the shit play out because it was part of her ego to let it be played out.
So I guess I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I guess I'm playing the dumb guy.
Go ahead.
I want you to keep doing
it. So it's like, I think after some point, she kind of understood something. Well, I'm guessing at some point she understood what was about to happen before it happened.
I mean, when he got up out of his seat to go walk up, I mean, they all, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? At the point that he got up, whether, because some people were saying, well, how did, what, when Chris sees Will Smith coming up, what was he thinking, right? It could have been, whatever. But listen, she, if she was a good woman, she would have stopped him at that point and been like, Will, no.
She made no effort at
none.
any point.
That's true.
But see, and that's the thing I feel like is the problem. Like you said, she aired him out. And we talked about that. She aired him all the way out. I mean, everybody, and he's sitting up there crying and looking like a fool in this meme. And now you up there, you want to, because you've been getting beat up the last year, 6 months, because your wife, you done had that smoke for August Alsina, you didn't smack him. You know what I'm saying? This guy messing with your wife, you didn't smack him? Because, I mean, when you look about it, like, name me 5 Jada Pinkett movies that you know of that Will wasn't in, that you thought were any good or had any cultural relevance, and you can't name Woo, you can't name Low Down Dirty Shame, and you can't name Set It Off.
The funniest joke the funniest joke I heard was Tommy Sotomayor said Will should have been smacking that dick from Cena out of the way.
That's what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, your wife, her whole career has been based on riding your coattails. Period. That's it. Maybe when they started dating, her career and his career kind of had some parity, so you didn't know where she was going. She's not a good actress. She's not a memorable actress. Nothing she's done has been groundbreaking in any way. And it's just like she's entitled. She's entitled for no reason. I mean, Ryan Shazier, the linebacker for the Steelers went to Ohio State, and he got alopecia, and I make fun of him to this day, and he just learned how to walk again. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about that. And that's just
make jokes about Magic, man.
Make jokes. I know cats make jokes about Magic right now. Right now they making jokes about Magic. My wife, now she wasn't making a joke, but that new show they got on HBO, she was like, are they gonna talk about the AIDS thing? And I'm like, oh man, you kinda cold for that. But like, people still talking about that shit. They making fun of his son. You know what I'm saying? And they never smack nobody. They make fun of Magic, how he talk. They talk, Aries Spears made Magic sound like Aries Spears. He would do Magic. He would do Shaq. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
Corey Uncle let him guess about Magic.
And so it's just like, how do we act like this is, oh man, this is like, Will, like, oh man, I can't believe he would say something about my wife's haircut. That's what it boiled down to. Because, I mean, looking at her, bro, I don't see no bald spots. I don't see nothing. And I'm not saying she don't have it. But I'm just saying, as a layman, if you didn't tell nobody, how you gonna get mad? I don't know if she got alopecia.
I didn't know until recently, bro. I didn't know until recently. I just thought it was a fashion choice to do it. You know what I'm saying?
I think as soon as if we believe truly, if we can say without any type of doubt, I mean, I know we don't know, but as soon as Chris Rock is able to say, I didn't know she had this condition, I feel like everything is off the table. Now, I get from the standpoint, if Will believes that he knows and he still feels the way he feels, okay. But as far as Chris's intentions, it's like, that's a whole clear bucket, right? In terms of him being a comedian, like if I had a wife who had shaved her head and that's the look she was going for, I wouldn't be mad if someone made a joke about her. And even then, if she's mad about that, no, you can't be mad about that. That's the look you got. You look just like the woman. That's why the joke was funny. You can't. That's what this is. But I mean, I think the sore point is either the unpacked issues that Will has, or it's this real alopecia thing. I don't know which it is. It's either Will's unpacked.
The real issue, Darvell, is as you just said, it's the unpacked issues that Will had. Will has been the butt of all these jokes because his wife exposed something about their relationship that she really shouldn't have, and he's been butt of all these jokes, and I think that's why he acted the way he did, like in a macho moment. Like, look, don't say nothing about me and mine.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what it was about. He was trying to be macho at that moment, dude, because he's been the butt of all these jokes and all these criticisms all across the internet for about 30-some doggone months. And I guess, he felt that was, and here's the thing, he laughed at the joke. You know what I'm saying? So really it was more so he was acting on, it wasn't even that he was really offended by it, man. It was the fact that she was offended by it. So now I feel like now I'm going to have to, show my manhood in front of her and everyone else in the world. And that's what makes him look like the super Sabian simp that he is, man. And I done lost all respect for freaking Will Smith. And I love Will Smith, dude, from the time the caller on there, as y'all know, is my brother, bro. He could tell you about when we first got that Fresh Prince tape over Uncle Sam's house, man. I've been a fan of Will Smith since then, dude. And that act alone just did it in for me, man. For Will Smith,
I mean, listen,
it really did.
From my standpoint, I think the other thing, like I said earlier, right, and we gotta circle this back.
All that.
What's that?
I'm like, he felt all that because of that. Because of that, you say you lost all respect.
Right? Yeah, I think
that.
This is over.
I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, I think that it goes back to like I said, it's really like you just sat there and built the case for, like I said on Facebook earlier. There are things that lead to this moment. There's the context, the aggravations and the root causes on top of the actual action a person took that they're responsible for. And if we're trying to deal with this issue in an equitable or even preventive way for the future, we got to deal with those things. But if we're trying to judge the person, you can judge them on the action they choose to take. But I think that it is disingenuous to not do that with everything else taken into account. And you gave us a laundry list of 30 months of things that he's gone through, which you even went as far as to justify that maybe he shouldn't even try to defend her, even if she was hurt by the joke, because she was hurting him for all this time as well. And, I think that part, hopefully I would hope, and maybe, you may never decide to change your mind, but I would hope that it would let you see that, he was imperfect because of this that happened, and he did this, and it was just shit happens. But that didn't make him less of what you thought about him in the past to the degree of what he did that garnered your attention. Unless he had other intentions by what he was doing, and you were snaked into liking him or something.
What I'm trying to say, man. what I'm trying to say, man, is that all encompassing these last 30 months or so, you know what I mean? I've been, even through the whole August Alsina revelation to him, them going on the table talk together, and he's still looking really weakish, this all of it, man. And, it just, for me personally, you know what I mean? I can't rock with Will Smith like that no more, dog. As a fan, and I was a huge fan of his, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm just saying, for somebody to be a huge fan, to be,
Yeah, but people are complex, man. So you gotta compartmentalize who they are, right? This is how I look at it. Okay, I look at him for what he is. He's a simplest type guy, right? But does that mean he would be disrespectful if you were like to meet him or go over his house? He'd probably be one of the best hosts you ever had, right? I'm not saying him as a human being. There's things that are to be respected in him. Okay, he's a great actor, and probably, like I said, a real nice guy if you ever had any personal interaction with him. But at the end of the day, yeah, he's on the simp side of the game when it comes to dealing with women. He has issues with dealing with women. I don't know where they come from. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trying to be one. But he got some issues, especially with that relationship with Jada. There's some issues there, obviously, right? That, like you said, as a man to man, I kind of have a little less respect for you in that category. I'm a compartmentalizer. You're still a great actor and probably a great human being on a personal level, right? But I don't respect how you deal with your lady, fam.
So how do we
Just to keep it 100.
now let's
Yeah.
ask this question. How do we look at this from, just to wrap this one up before we hop to this the second section? How do we look at this from a white supremacy standpoint? What things do we learn from this situation that are continuing to add to our condition in America?
So I was
Great
thinking,
question.
if Ricky Gervais would have told that joke, now he would have told it the exact same way. But if Ricky Gervais, the British white comedian, would have told that joke, Will Smith wouldn't have went up and smacked him. And so what I feel like
I agree.
is, I feel like we have been conditioned. This is like the miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. You have been conditioned to believe a certain behavior is acceptable, or even Frantz Fanon, The Wretched of the Earth. You have been conditioned to believe that a certain behavior is acceptable against other black people, specifically other black men, and that against other people, like in Carter G. Woodson and the Miseducated Negro, he says the Negro is trained that no matter how soiled the white man's hands, they can never be dirty, and no matter how clean the Negroes, they can never be clean. And in The Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon talks about his own violence. He talks about the interactions between the oppressed classes and how that close interaction and the anger and the resentment that you feel toward the oppressive class, presents itself in violence between the active groups. It presents itself in over-sexualized outward displays and over emotional displays in music and dancing and stuff like that. And so that's what you see. Because I mean, to me, even like I said, he kind of hit on it a little bit earlier, but I think it was on stage. I don't know. I just think they both actors, they're both cool. So I feel like this is like, hey, say something about my wife, and then I'm gonna come up there and smack you, and then everybody will stop making jokes about my wife because they're gonna think I'm hard. Because Will Smith, he might be from West Philly, but you've been famous for since you was 18 or 19. You came from a stable two-parent household. Your father was a veteran. I think he was like, like some type of janitor or something, like, maintenance guy or something. Your mother was a teacher. You didn't live that street life, bro. That's not you. And so even like to go up and smack, like if you angry, you're not about to smack nobody. I don't like oh yeah, I pimp smack. You ain't smacking nobody if you angry. That's not what's about to happen. You will punch somebody before you smack somebody. That's just I mean, that's just what that's just what you're gonna do. Whether you think a person is a formidable opponent or not. If I don't think you worth shit, I'm gonna hit you one time hard as I can and knock you out. But I'm not gonna smack you. Like, that's not what's gonna happen. So I feel like all this stuff, if it really did happen as it presented itself, then he came up there and his emotions got the better of him, and he didn't know what to do. So he thought he would smack Chris Rock in order to divert, I guess, the energy from doing something more serious or grievous.
Yeah.
But I think it was all just fake, man, and I think it makes us all look bad because of this. And for the whole world, we haven't talked about it on the show, but we're gonna talk about it. They're talking about with the Peace Corps. Ukrainians don't really have a lot of experience with black people, so they're gonna see this shit on the news because everybody in the world's gonna see this shit.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna see two American Negroes is fighting at one of the most prestigious Hollywood events in the world, or of the season, or whatever. And I don't give a fuck about the Oscars. I mean, you couldn't pay me to watch. I didn't even know that was going on. But Crown of Jada Pinkett's dress, they said it looked like a dart. So like, she has been getting it, and she's washed up, and he's insecure, and it's a very toxic relationship, and he got some shit he got to work on, and it probably is a result of him being a child. Because actually, my dad told me that story like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, he heard something on the news that was talking about that. Will, he
Okay.
felt like when his dad was beating his mom up, he couldn't do nothing about it. He felt bad.
So
So maybe it's some deep-seated shit going on. He got to get that shit together. He rich, bro. Fuck that.
you know what? Irony said something on Facebook. He said you can't be pro Will Smith's slap. You can't be for his slap and also be for reparations. Because when the fight comes, the white guys are going to feel as insulted as Will Smith does, but this time they're going to show up with their guns.
Break that down a little bit more so I can get more context
that
of
was
that. They gonna do what?
that analogy was.
It was
that
binary.
hell of
Yeah,
an
it was very
analogy, wasn't it?
binary. And that's legitimately what it said. And I'm going to read it verbatim one last time. It was like this. You can't both be pro Will for his slapping and pro reparations, because when that fight comes, the white guys will be the ones who use their guns to protect their family from dignitary harms. That is, you you can't be like, and willing to protect your family, as in Jada, in terms of from an insult, as these white people will claim the fact that you have to go to get reparations and you make the justice claim that they are part of the problem, that you don't have it, then they feel the same harm as Chris Rock imparted on Jada. And so then, somebody's going to show up with a gun.
Oh, okay.
I think
That's a convoluted way to come around, but I get it.
Nah, and I say
Man,
I don't
I'm
even know if
telling
I can agree with. I don't even know if I can agree with it, because I say Will Smith been rich for too long, and so just like we already said, he wouldn't have. In most situations, you walk up to somebody smiling, then you open hand slap them. You ain't finna turn around and walk back. What's gonna happen is once you slap the shit out of somebody, what they gonna do back? They're gonna hit your ass right back. And so the reality is that this situation is just like, I don't know, a rarity in Hollywood where you see this, I guess, black male on male violence, and they both rich as hell, because in reality, like the white people with guns, like that analogy, it ain't even that deep. Like most black males in the hood, if you walked up and tried to openly slap them, even if they did disrespect you, they're not gonna let that shit just rock out. Like, if anything, they have self-defense now. So like, you're more than likely going to get killed, and they're going to be the murder case, and shit. That's the reality.
What was it I seen? I seen something that said essentially, who was it? Smack. I don't remember. Anyway, that's what's going on. White folks, white supremacy is having a ball with this. It's hurting our image, and this spins us right into the other topic, which is really important to talk about, which is this whole situation with the importation of new white supremacists into America, unfortunately. And who's the king of making that happen? Our man's Mr. Biden. Everybody's riding for Biden. He brought it in. He's got some new troops. He sent some real troops abroad, and he brought some new troops for his white supremacy campaign to America. He's got them coming over, 100,000 of
them. We just got to give him a chance. We just got to give him a chance and see what he's going to do after he get elected. And then after he get elected, then we can criticize him. We just got to get him in first. And after we get him in, then we can criticize him.
Well, I bet you when we have a case.
That's what they said. That's what they said.
By the time we have a court case against some of these folks they bringing over, old girl gonna be on the bench. What you think she gonna say?
Well, race is not a factor.
Like Clarence Thomas said.
Race ain't a factor, and their cases are too dissimilar to consider this a class action. So it would be. I mean, it's this shit is crazy to me. Yeah. And we keep doing this cycle. Like, we keep going through the same cycle where you just use these same bullshit talking points. Joe Biden literally got nominated because people said, we know he's bad, but we got to get Trump out of there. And motherfucker, we on the verge of World War III and the Great Depression all over again. Like, And I ain't saying Trump is good, but shit, gas was $2. We wasn't in no war. Shit, I mean, yeah, motherfuckers are wearing them red hats and carrying Confederate flags. God damn, they carry the Confederate flags now anyway. It ain't no money.
So
and now you got the motherfuckers coming with the Nazi flag.
wow. So
Ben carrying the motherfuckers, right?
So what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna go ahead and throw Homie into our Yo Man segment, because we're gonna talk about what Homie done did that's just continuing to build off of this unfortunate situation that Will has fed into, and it's part of the modern 2020 machine against freedmen in America.
You are listening to Your Man's Now. This Your Man's? Hey, yo, who man's is this? Hey, yo, who man's is this? Hey, yo, who man's is this?
Whose man's is this? I need to know. I really need to know.
All right, my bad, I messed up that audio for a second there. Y'all didn't even know I had done the transition. I apologize. But anyway, so we gotta talk about this situation. What was it? This is it a Peace Corps? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's the Peace Corps.
Yeah, the Peace Corps.
So, all right. So I got the piece pulled up here. It's on their website, peacecorps.gov. It's on the page for diversity and inclusion within the Ukraine project, preparing to volunteer in Ukraine. So the issue is that when you scroll down here, they talk about all these different things that's going on, and possible considerations of volunteers in color, and what might volunteers face in terms of hardships like gender roles and people of color. But they got a section here dedicated to possible considerations for African Americans or Black volunteers. So let's square this up. Peace Corps sent and are currently sending people from the United States of America, American citizens, to the areas around Ukraine and in Ukraine to support with the refugee crisis, right? Due to the war. And so the people who have been sent over there include bona fide freedmen. Okay. And so these freedmen are going into a space where apparently they're treated just like they're at home. Let me read. Possible considerations for African Americans or Black volunteers, volunteer voices. People of color face many challenges living in Ukraine as a Peace Corps volunteer. However, African Americans will confront far more complicated issues. For modern parts of Ukraine, African Americans are part of the community and the day-to-day life. However, there are many Ukrainians who have never seen a Black person before. Their understanding of African American culture is fueled by the media and African stereotypes. You will generate a lot of interest and curious stares when you are there. So these stares can make you uncomfortable and annoyed. Ukrainians' initial perception of you may be that you're from Africa. It may not be. It does help, though, if they understand that you are an American, and training in PST will help you consider ways that you will engage with these assumptions. And I'll read this last big piece here. They go on to say, it is not uncommon for Ukrainians to refer to African Americans as the N-word. Volunteers of color may be called a monkey, or they may see children's games with blackface. Being aware of the history of dehumanization for people of African descent may help inform where this comes from, but it does not justify it. It will be at your discretion to determine the intention. No matter the intention, we recognize the impact of hearing that word may invoke hurt and anger. And if you view it as unlearned, that is something the person has never been exposed to, it may be an opportunity for you to educate that person. We are here to support you in your successful service, and these comments and images can be a huge distraction and obstacle to you. Know that the Peace Corps itself is here to support and encourage you, and do not hesitate to remove yourself from such situations. You are not expected to be subjected to such treatment. So they just openly admitted, the Peace Corps, which is, a program of the U.S. government. They just admitted right here on their website, Ukrainians are racist. It's not just all of them. Well, it is basically, I'm betting, because there are people who will say things to you, and there are people who will just stare at you, and then there are people who feel a certain way, but they know enough not to say anything in the conditions under which they're in. So you don't know how many people it really is, but if they got enough of an incident rate to write something on their website, it's not insignificant. Now, what's the big thing that's coming out of this? We just said that these are Ukrainians who are in a situation of distress, who are now being brought out of this country into other neighboring countries to be saved and to spare their lives and to, keep them alive during this conflict. But on top of that, they're also being brought to the United States. How many are being brought over here, y'all?
100,000.
100,000, right?
Yeah, at least 100,000. If you go on Airbnb, they're asking for volunteers to house Ukrainians. And I think some celebrity motherfucker said he gonna let some live with him. I was just like dogs, like adopting a dog.
So they having people.
Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch. He said he gonna adopt some Ukrainians and let them live in his house. I'm saying the fuck, bro. I stand with Ukraine because all that you read to me made me feel like, as a Black American, those people deserve my support and love, and I can't see what the big deal is.
Hey man, what you just say, Stephen? You say you standing with Ukraine because you think they need your love?
Yeah, well, why? I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, the president and everybody been telling me, the Russia's evil, and I mean, that shit you read, just cultural differences. You know what I'm saying? They don't know no better. The media that the U.S. puts out, obviously, they leave that out. But the U.S. media is responsible for making them feel like they can call us the N-word. They have nothing to do with, the government or anything. They're not racist or anything. They're just, misunderstood. So I got to go over there and volunteer. Yeah, go help them educate them. And after I do that, they'll just love me like, white people here love me.
See, that's a very good point.
Hey, man, if it's some Ukrainian females, some Ukrainian bitches, yeah, fine. You know what I'm saying?
You should go ahead and drop your go on ahead and slide your Russian.
Talk about that poison. Don't you talk about that poison on this podcast.
Go over there and get and Oksana and Pritana and all them bitches. And, I'm in the bucket.
Keep it going, Ernest. For a second.
They only gonna think you're a monkey until you convince them you're American. I guess that's what they're saying.
Right. Baby, bro. You gotta go over there with a flag bandana.
Right. You gotta go like George Foreman.
Right. Just waving the flag around.
Man,
just waving the flag around. I mean, crazy, bro.
That's crazy. They say educate them. Educate them if you can.
Right. Because the Peace Corps is like a volunteer organization where you go to, third world or developing countries to help out and spread supposedly American goodwill or whatever. And I'm supposed to be doing that in the middle of what y'all call a war zone in the most corrupt country in Europe, which is saying something because that means they're more corrupt than Bulgaria and Romania. There's some countries where they still have bride markets where you take a girl, you go and parade her around to be bought for marriage. And Ukraine is more corrupt than that.
I was gonna say most of them are college interns that's going to volunteer for the Peace Corps. Usually they do South American trips. They got all over the world, but apparently they sending African Americans to the Ukraine and they need to prep.
Hey, hence why I said, man, we bring the chicks over. What's up?
These the Chris Rock African Americans, so they might just let somebody give them a slap them in the face. You know what I'm saying? Because wait, because you wouldn't qualify to be. Look, you wouldn't qualify to be a volunteer if you was the other type. So that's all.
Well, wasn't that doctor that came? Wasn't a doctor from Detroit talking about he was going to go to Ukraine or something like that and volunteer?
Somebody from Chicago too. He had a whole Ukrainian girl.
And that's the thing, you got a situation where you sending black people to the neo-Nazi training ground, basically. How does that even look? You know, are you sending Jewish people over there? Are you advising Jewish people to have any special precautions taken when they go to Ukraine for a Peace Corps? Or is that not nothing you need to worry about?
Man, it look like a black person over here wearing a Make America Great Again hat. That's what it look like, bro. It's the same type of situation as far as I'm concerned. You know, but hey, if you want to go over there, hey, take your ass over there, nigga. Go ahead, bro. Hey man, take Jada with you, man.
Oh well, but that's
Take Jada.
that's crazy. That's it is what I mean. You say it is what it is, but this is a good example. Well, this isn't an exact example, would you say, of the plethora of issues we have from a Freedmen social, political, or social economic standpoint with immigration as it stands today? Or is it? Like, I mean, you know what? I'll tell you one thing that scared me. I'll tell you one thing that scared me is I misread a title of a video. I misread a title of a video that was posted on Twitter that said, it said, do you know where they are really moving the 100,000 Ukrainians into the U.S.? You know where they're really going to place them? They're going to place them in, what is this town in Tennessee that's fighting the county right now? Oh my God. Mason. They're going to place them near Mason. And then it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, what? That sounds like a perfect scheme.
Those jobs need to get filled, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they got thousands of them to fill. Now, it's not 100,000 jobs, but it's a bunch of land, you know. And
I mean, but now to your original question, yes, it does reveal the scheme that America already knows these immigrant groups or different ethnic groups are blatantly racist or have overtones of anti-blackness rooted in them. Yet they'll still paint the picture that these are, you know, righteous, noble, good-hearted, immigrants or people who deserve a chance to, you know, progress in America, a place that has stability. Now, at the same time, they're ignoring the black people who they have placed in unstable situations. And even to be quite frank, they telling the immigrants like these are criminals and thugs when they get here, reinforcing that narrative, while at the same time saying, you know, these Black Americans are also possible of hating on you guys because they, you know, they can commit hate crimes as well. You know, they're not like the only minority. Don't forget that. You know, that's what's being reinforced.
Yeah, that is not in our favor, huh? It creates even more of an issue. And I'd say if they start converting these people in mass over to citizenship, which you know it's going to be on the table at some point. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're refugees, man. Almost.
I mean, to voting.
It's almost a given.
Yeah, to the vote. Like once they start getting into the voting block, this is again more the problem. The minority. But anyway,
hey, you know,
did they run for office? Yeah,
run for office with the minority advantage.
Yeah, there'll be Republicans and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not.
You know, running in these rural Tennessee, rural Alabama, rural Michigan, wherever the hell they settle them at. You know what I mean? And be first ones to call you a nigger. You know what I'm saying? Like this is wild, dude. It's wild. I tell you to go back to
know any better. You just gotta educate them. That's all it is.
I just gotta educate them.
You just gotta educate them, man. You know what I mean? They don't know.
Some quick education. Well, we understand that this is just more of the same. It's you know, it's unfortunate what's happening to the Ukrainians, but you know, that's not what we need to be concerned about as freedmen, because we got to fight for our own social economic justice, and we got to do that through politics.
Speaking of Darvell, let's talk about the latest happening in California.
Ernest, what's the pop over there, man? I heard there was some stuff going down. I thought it was a busy day. You know, Tuesday,
Man,
March 29th was a
been
busy day
crazy,
over there for the
man. Like,
Cowlings.
I ain't even gonna lie. It's been an eventful day, man. That's all I say. I think today we seen the battle of like lineage-based reparations versus race-based reparations. Um, I think flat out, like Pan Africans, they put all the cards on the board as far as what they believe and who should be receiving what and based on what grounds. You know, I think they came out and said that they're perfectly fine with using our history to qualify all black people, you know, to get something. And maybe it should be exactly the same because we all suffer the same racism and the police can't tell the difference. But you know, there's a lot of folks who stood tall, stood strong on the message that we've been pushing, the data, and you know, some motions got introduced to get lineage-based reparations passed. It got denied. You had chair members calling. I mean, you had board, I guess, not even board members, but you had task force member calling the chair a dictator. You had you had them saying they're appalled by certain people's behavior, saying that they felt like when certain members who gave testimony were asked to answer certain questions, it felt like they had a gun put to their head as far as answering on race-based versus lineage-based. Like these people was coming up with anything today. And I'll say it got all the way down to the wire where they had to push the agenda back for tomorrow because the economists were saying, how can they start calculating or giving figures for the task force if they don't know the community of eligibility? And the task force members were saying it should go to to the descendants. But the people who opposed were saying, let's give it more time and do a calculation for all black people in the event that, you know, it's the right thing to do if we want to end racism. And so people pointed out the fact that, you know, reparations, the goal of reparations isn't to end racism, it is to repair a
Exactly.
party. And so like all of these things were said by like members of the task force. And at the last minute, one of the persons who originally abstained from voting, he voted aye. We got the majority. And now reparations in California will be going to the descendants of enslaved or free black people who lived in America prior to the 1900s.
That's what's up. So the lineage based won at the end of the day. That's what you're saying, Ernest?
We won. We finally got a W. It was looking scary too, but we finally got a W.
Man, so is that
Yo, that's what's up, man.
The I put out I said in a tweet, like, for real, like if there are people who are like so in opposition to pure reparations, specifically for freedmen, you know, for those people, if you feel like we are wrongly focused on the 90% of the US black community, which has lineage going back to slavery, then you also just go ahead and launch your own separate campaign and claim for the remaining 10%. I mean, if these narc folks think that we're missing some folks, go on ahead and just start your own little. You already got all the skills, apparently. You said you did all this, so you can do that in 2 minutes.
Hey, the crazy part was they came on that champion Evanston, and there's a local group out in Evanston that's like responding to the whole reparations solution that was proposed in these 16 people that were chosen by lottery that technically weren't even like, you know, citizens of Evanston historically. And so like this group, you know, like I said, they showed up today, they gave a comment, you know, they was like, we just want to reiterate that people who advocate for a race-based reparations program don't truly care. He said these are groups that have organizations that are going around into local communities and consulting cities as well as certain corporations, et cetera, as to how they can, you know, pass a reparations plan that is local, but you know, they paying these organization consulting fees for that.
Grift.
Yeah, so he was saying in the city of Evanston, something like that was what occurred. And lo and behold, you know, it was a sham.
So that's very important. We need to keep an eye out for that. Didn't they say they called some cats in Detroit who said they worked on the Evanston? I know they said they talked to some of the Evanston people.
Yeah.
But we gotta watch out for that stuff.
Yeah. I think the actual chair, like the person who led the efforts, had called in Detroit. You know.
Yeah, that's scary. But yeah, I'm glad that came out on the right side of things, and I guess that's why NARC put out their little letter recently, right? They seen this coming.
And I mean, to be truthful, I think they were going to like expand it. The initial motion that was to be passed, it failed, and so then they tried to pass an amendment that would include all 2.6 million black citizens as of today in the reparations claim. And they were saying this is where they got hung up. The amendment was, we want reparations proposals to address the 2.6 million African Americans that are currently in California, with special considerations for lineage-based reparations for the descendants of the formerly enslaved.
Yeah, I
And so
remember
people were like, what's the special consideration mean if you're trying to amend it? Because the original proposal was reparations for the descendants of slaves and freed people prior to 1900. And people were on board with that because they like, we could trace back to the 1900 census or even prior. And on top of that, you get what I'm saying? There was like, that was as close to lineage basis we was going to get it. We couldn't get back to 1865, but prior to 1899 is a win, and it's in descendants. And so,
right.
the amendment was basically all out of whack, and the task force had to deny the amendment, go back to the original proposal. And so on the second vote, there was like, a shift in the last person who had voted, who abstained. Yep.
Good. Okay. Well, good. Well, that's where we are now. So more work to be done. Glad that precedent, because they're setting a really strong precedent for these other cities that might try to do it the proper way. I mean, they need to really copy Cali right now. Like, for real. Like, that's the best precedent, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And they got the delineation bill too.
I mean, you said one thing that can't be pro Will Smith though, right?
No. Can't be pro Will Smith and pro reparations.
Can't be pro Will Smith, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, gents, I think we done took the cow out and chopped it up and cooked it. I think we done cooked it up. Y'all got anything else to throw into the pot?
No, I say ain't got really nothing else. I guess with Will Smith, like this news came out, I guess just out of the blue, but I'll say, as far as the Oscars, they gotta have something that's entertaining. So this was their headliner this year. I'm surprised they didn't try to use Kanye, but
man, you think we'll ever
Kanye,
find
they said Kanye vibing with Will Smith right now, but I mean, I say, for my closing words, as far as this Ukraine situation, I hope it opens our audience's eyes up to why we state that, from an immigration standpoint, our people has always known what was up. And so these sentiments that come from Europe, it's a part of like the original racism. And so, we understand what's going on. We're not seeing these different groups of people as like true allies or anything like that, because we understand that, they have a completely different experience of how they see our people, and it ain't in a good light. And so that's not just for the white ones, but that's for the yellow ones and even for the brown ones too. So, with that being said, I say, like last comments on Will Smith, his meme has went viral. And so like, I done seen white boys who invested in GameStop use this meme, where they got like GameStop, and then Chris Rock is the small hedge funds. I done seen the reparation space. Like I got one up right now where Will Smith say lineage based, and Chris Rock is the Pan Africans. So it's been people using this meme, but I say I done seen that all used in all sort of ways.
Nice.
Man, I saw funny when they had Will Smith crying on one side, right? It said, "Love will make you do some crazy things," and then OJ was on the other side. You're like, exactly. I say, man, they stupid. Internet
Man,
undefeated, man. You can't beat the internet.
undefeated. Internet is undefeated, boy. Undefeated. Yeah.
Well, caller, we appreciate you hanging with us.
Look,
Most
man, I'm ready to get rid of this dude.
Yes, sir.
No, that's what's up, dude. That's what's up. All right, so let's get out of here.
All right, man. Thanks. Oh man. So I J Rocky and then Mr. Conspiracy, what's y'all final words on it?
Man, as always, man, you know, we have no permanent interests. I'm sorry, we have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies, only permanent interests, man. And that's always we always have to look at all these critical issues, current topics, you know, current affairs through the Freedmen's lens. Because we're Freedmen first, man. F1 all day and every day, man. Peace and reparations.
Conspiracy brother, you still out there? Or did you have to slide off the radar? Because I know he busy.
I slid off. I came back. I've been some of what y'all said still, but you know, I think a lot of these things are distractions because they're trying to distract us from all this. Glad to hear that.
I can't hear Stedman.
You can't hear me? Yeah, see, I messed up. Can you hear me now?
No, you know better.
A little
man.
bit better. A little bit better.
Let me see. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds a little bit better, man.
Okay. I'm just, you know, I wish this kind of thing wouldn't happen because I think it distracts from what's important in our community, and I think it paints us all in a negative light. And you know, I think we have enough issues going on with the perception of us, specifically of black men, and how we behave. And so, you know, I just feel bad about it in that regard. I feel bad about, you know, the situation with how you're going to be sending Ukrainian immigrants over here to gentrify our communities and run us out. You have these neo-Nazis over here. They're going to be coming over here and getting aid. And you got black people going over to Ukraine trying to teach them how to handle racism from foreigners. They're supposed to be helping out. You know, it's a real sad, weird situation. And it's nothing new, but it's just the fact that it continues to exist and we continue to make excuses. You know, talking about voting people in or supporting people and then trying to be upset after you done already cast your vote or showing your support. It's weird. It's a weird turn of logic. It's a weird kind of way to think about how you process power in that situation. Whatever power you have and leverage, you lose because you've already given your support. And so we got to try to make sure that we don't fall for those kind of bad ideas and bad suggestions because ultimately they hurt us in the long run, and we continue to kind of spin our wheels. So we all got to keep our eyes open and you know, keep pressing forward because the fight ain't gonna get no easier from here on out. But that's it for me.
Man, you said it right there, bro. That's it. The fight is not looking like it's gonna turn down the knob. Biden ain't turning off the energy. Everybody going ham. And I learned from my team back in Detroit. They said ham has different meanings than you think, Darvell. But anyway, I ain't got much to add, y'all. Y'all know what it is. We was talking about Will SLAPGATE today. We talked about its relationship to white supremacy, the black celebrity dysfunction, and that system's role in the overall mechanism of our current day predicament for freedmen. And then we slid to the right and talked a little bit about this Ukrainian situation. Talked about how immigrants, functionally rather, refugees from Ukraine coming to the United States who are harboring anti-black sentiment as part of whatever they were taught improperly, because they were taught something, whether it be by the media apparatus over there or the media apparatus here, telling them across the pond how to think about us. This just adds more to the problem in any way, which way and form. We don't condone killing of innocent people. We're not here for the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but we already have a position that is not assisted at all. It is actually further hurt by basic immigration on its face, but even more so by immigrating people who we know harbor anti-Black sentiment. So with that being said, y'all, we out. Freedmen's Collective is done.